Hello and welcome to Eat Your Greens. I'm John.
And I'm Christopher.
Hey, Christopher.
Yeah.
Do you eat your greens?
I usually do.
Okay.
Do you?
No. Anyway, hey, it's Merry Christmas. This is our Christmas special of this series, and we'll be covering the VeggieTales, the toy that saved Christmas. Good timing on our part. Not really. But yeah, what Christmas traditions do you normally have?
First I sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Then I wake up. Then we open presents, and then we play with our presents. Then we go to sleep. And also we eat.
Yeah.
No, honestly, I think the real thing, what our family tries to do, is advent time. So like, we try every night leading up to Christmas. We like read a bit of the Bible, some stories, so just some family time. So
yeah. Christmas morning we read some of the Bible, the story of Christmas, of Jesus being born. Then we open presents. Then sometimes we'll have a Christmas meal. Then the rest of our day is just whatever we do. Sometimes we'll go and see movies. Sometimes we'll just stay in, sleep. I remember one year, Christmas was on a Sunday, and that was the worst time to be a kid. You wake up in the morning, you open your presents, and immediately afterwards you have to go to church because your dad's a pastor. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's like the one Sunday I would not want to go to church.
That's Christmas on Sunday. I guess the special day for churchgoers. It's like, yeah, Sunday, message about Jesus being born. But also for kids, they hate it because like they just want Christmas to be their day. They have to go to church now. Anyway, fun times.
Fun times.
But yeah, VeggieTales. There are a couple Christmas specials that VeggieTales has made over the years.
And this is the first one that they've done.
This is the first one that they've done. I do remember this one. It's very different because there are multiple versions of this episode. The version that we saw just now is the Christmas Spectacular version.
That was made for TV. So it
adds an extra 15 minutes to the episode of filler. And the filler is pretty much they're pretending they're having a live broadcast in the studio, like specials tend to do, and they have this joke going on. It's like, oh my gosh, we lost the film, and so the entire 15 minutes is them looking for the film and putting up filler while they look for the film, and filler is just songs.
Which I guess kind of works to a degree, especially this. I mean, it turns out to be a 45-minute production that's at least 15-minute for commercials, as throughout they have moments to insert commercials for a TV broadcast. So in some ways it works, but I really wonder if this was like my first time ever watching VeggieTales, would this interest me? Would I want to keep watching?
Gotcha.
If I had kids, they would want to keep watching. But me,
sure.
I understand that VeggieTales in the end is made for kids, but also has the appeal to adults. But I don't feel like this would be the best first impression for adults.
And so yeah, even still, it's a weird thing because this isn't like their traditional VeggieTales where they're telling the story of the Bible. They're not. This is their own adventure, and
which I kind of do appreciate because VeggieTales doesn't, or at least in the first rendition of VeggieTales, doesn't really have them going on like their own adventures. It's always them telling stories and them reenacting stories, which isn't bad. But it's kind of interesting to see them in a situation. And so it's not something that was really pulled off super often with this era of VeggieTales. And not to say it was well done later on, VeggieTales in the House. But I think it was kind of nice to kind of have that little bit of a difference in the way they told stories.
Right, yes. And of course we mentioned that there were two versions of this episode. This one being the one with the spectacular, And you grew up with the other one, did you?
I believe so, because I don't remember the Spectacular from a young age. We got later on, like, I don't know what happened to our original copy. We probably had like a VHS, and we trashed our VHSs. Then we got a DVD version, which was like a double feature with the episode Star of Christmas. And so this version of The Toy That Saved Christmas was indeed the VeggieTales Christmas Spectacular. So what about you?
So the more I'm thinking about this, because I was watching this, I was thinking, I've never seen the Spectacular before. But now that I'm just thinking about it, I think I did. Because, like, there are just moments, like, right before they started the film, one of the squash or the gourd?
Gourd.
Yeah, the gourd comes out with a thing that you think it's with the film thinking that it's pizza. And I do remember that scene as a kid. I also remember the very end, where they're saying, oh, the network didn't watch the film. But the thing that I find strange is I don't remember during the episode itself the cuts to the commercial. I didn't have that as a kid.
I actually wonder, like, thinking about on our DVD version, I don't actually think we had the moments when they say, stay tuned, we'll be back.
Yeah.
I don't think we have that on our version either.
This was a strange thing to see that. But yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't take that out for this type of version. I understand it being left in for a TV airing, but it's just weird when you're watching a DVD or streamed version than when it's so obviously made for TV. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. And it returns.
Even though in our case that we did have ads on YouTube that did somewhat match the
it wasn't very appreciated.
Sure. You could say that, but it was a funny coincidence.
It was a funny coincidence.
But yeah, we go into the intro, the Spectacular. They're doing their thing. We have some songs that are neat. The song with Junior and the Sheep.
Like I mentioned, like, I'm not really sure how well in terms of retention it does.
No.
It's cute regardless.
It's cute, but it's still like the entire 50 minutes I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely filler.
They're better as like bonus features.
Yeah. Because what they're doing is definitely filler. Except for the silly song.
That, because it's the silly song, it works.
Yeah, the silly song works.
I feel like, that was the only moment during the first 15 minutes where I wasn't thinking about it being filler.
Yeah.
I was enjoying the silly song.
Yeah, when it came up, I thought, okay, that was interesting to put the silly song. I thought I remembered it being the middle of the episode. I don't know, my memory's weird.
Because I believe I remember it in the middle of the episode for the original version, but I could be completely wrong with there even being a silly song or where it was, but...
And then the silly song just comes in. We got
Santa.
Oh, Santa.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, with him trying to get cookies. We got a robber come in.
I remember like a couple of years ago when I rediscovered the silly song. The IRS part cracked me up.
The robber trying to rob the bank inside someone's house.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
You gotta love it.
A Norse Viking coming in.
Teaching the vocabulary.
Norse Viking, yes. Of course, getting their helmet wrong, as they always do.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. Norse Vikings don't actually have the horns on the helmet. That's just how people drew Vikings. Which... It's not a problem, but still, it's like, now that I know that, it's like...
It's funny.
Of course. Then the IRS comes in, and you know what? I just love the joke where he just slams the door in front of his face. It's like, I ain't giving you a cookie. But then the IRS takes the cookie in the end because he didn't claim it. As the IRS does. But anyway, we enter into The Toy That Saved Christmas. It starts with a commercial for a toy, and the true meaning of Christmas being... Buy toys. Buy our toys. Yada yada.
Billy has more toys than me.
Who is Billy? I don't know.
But he has more toys than me.
This is a strange episode.
Because I've never really thought so much about it until this time around.
Yeah.
And this time around, I'm like...
This is not a good episode.
It's one of those things where it's so obvious where it had to do things a certain way to tell its point.
Yeah.
And as a result, the storytelling, or more or less the flow, or there's just like so many like holes.
It's just the reality.
Pasted in with clay.
The reality of the story just doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're trying to sell Buzzsaw Louie, which
you really sell toys with
a buzzsaw.
Yeah.
Which they would never do. Unless it was the 60s. Which this isn't. But yeah, and we're also introduced that we have
Well, no, think about it.
Yeah?
So we had the grandpa telling the story to the little girl.
True, but the grandpa wasn't that young in the flashback.
Okay, but think about it.
Sure. At best...
The story could have happened in the 60s.
At best, it's the 80s.
I don't think so.
At best, it's the 70s.
The grandpa telling the story, his mustache is white, while in the actual story, his mustache is brown.
Gray.
No, it was brown.
It's the 70s.
Whatever.
Anyway, we have Mr. Nebuchadnezzar.
Nezer.
Yes, Nezer. But they also explains like, oh, your brother works at a chocolate factory. Which is like, oh, that's a nice reference to the last couple episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. That was a story of the Bible.
The chocolate factory one.
Yes.
Yes. Not this one.
But he's his brother. Now you're seeing her.
No, I'm confused.
Yeah. Well, like he says, like, oh, your brother it runs the chocolate factory.
Yes.
So
what's the Bible story connection?
The Bible story is the chocolate factory with Nebuchadnezzar. So what's this story? If he's his brother in the time of the Bible...
So this technically would be a Bible story? No, that's too...
See, the confusing part is like they're trying to make this connection to the story that took place during the time of the Bible, except it can't work because this isn't taking place in the Bible.
You know what
period.
makes it even more confusing?
Yes.
Think about this. The fact that this whole time VeggieTales has been acting out these stories, while in this one they are themselves. This is like Bob and Larry in their element, ideally.
Okay.
That's how they're portraying it. It's not Bob and Larry telling a story. This is ideally Bob and Larry's world.
No, they are telling the story. Because even in the...
well, I see what you're saying, but in
Shadrach,
this one,
Meshach, and Abednego...
That one was them telling a story, but this one...
But they're also in their element inside that story.
No.
Yes, they were.
No.
Yes, they were.
No.
Yes, it's the same thing. The only difference is... Because they're telling the story in this as well by showing the film. It's the same thing.
Wow, okay. I didn't think about that.
But anyway, for some reason, we have a Buzzsaw Louie that comes to life like a Toy Story moment. It's never explained how he came to life.
VeggieTales, thanks for confusing everything.
It's my fault. I'm sorry I pointed it out to you.
I'm going to forget it. What if this is where Christopher Nolan got his start?
What?
Confusing people with these conflicting but corresponding narratives.
Alright, so Christopher Nolan.
Yeah. Was the mastermind behind Rad Shack and Benny in the Christmas.
Rad Shack and Benny was the mastermind behind Christopher Nolan. They started Nolan. Anyway, Louis breaks free from his box, and there's a lazy penguin a guard who checks the room, sees that there's a toy that fell on the ground, and then just leaves it there.
Literally thinking, oh, I could take care of this later. Really?
Okay.
But it worked for the story.
Sure. And then, of course, the toy escapes.
Somehow is able to reach the handle of the door to get out.
Yes. And then he runs into Bob, Larry, and Junior. And they're like, the true meaning of Christmas, buying toys. Then Louis comes to life in front of them and says, no, it's not. It's about Christmas. And they never question that this toy is now talking to them. And they're like, Yeah, you're right. That story makes sense. Let's go tell people about it.
How did he... It's really crazy to think, like, about, like, this idea of consciousness. Now, like, you drew the comparison of Toy Story. Yeah. While Toy Story was released just a year before, it's possible that...
there's some inspiration.
But it's possible that there also probably wasn't at the same time. I don't know. Because, like, it's possible that this story was in development. Maybe Toy Story was announced, but maybe it wasn't. Because, for example, like, the Pirates Don't Do Anything movie. Yeah. Even though that released in 2008, that script was written, I think, around the same time as Jonah, which was before the Pirates of the Caribbean first released.
I don't think so. Like, Jonah?
Jonah was 2002.
Yeah.
Yeah. When was the first Pirates of the Caribbean?
Jonah was in 2002. Okay.
Yes.
The Pirates of the Caribbean, 2003.
So basically, Phil Vischer came up with the story of the Pirates Don't Do Anything before Pirates of the Caribbean was first released.
Wait a minute.
Pirates Don't Do Anything released in 2008.
But...
It's, because of the whole bankruptcy and, you know, just the fact that they finished a movie. So the Pirates Don't Do Anything was not a parody of the Pirates of the Caribbean.
That really ruins it for me.
Why?
Because I thought that Larry looked like a character from the Pirates movie, and I thought
Jack Sparrow.
And I thought that was the inspiration. But now that
maybe visually, but not thematic or.
My gosh.
In terms of characters.
But they can't be inspired visually because they wow.
No, because I don't know when the production started, but it was after Pirates Caribbean. So maybe they took that visual inspiration. I bet that's the case. Slightly.
How?
Well, then again, no.
Jonah came out first.
True. It is very similar.
That is really interesting. Okay. But anyway, the main message of the story is giving rather than receiving gifts.
Whoa, just about the toys.
Okay.
So, like, we've never really questioned about the humanity of the toys in Toy Story, but there's the aspect that they never interacted with the human characters.
Yeah.
Here... The toys interact with the veggies.
But here's another thing.
Yeah.
Why is this toy humanoid?
Why is this one toy out of all the toys human?
Yeah, like
is what you're asking. Yeah.
Like why is that toy designed after a human person in a world of vegetables?
Ooh.
That's my question.
That's a
you see what I mean? Because it's like, oh, that's a strange choice to have.
I know from a production standpoint.
It's
because with this episode, they wanted to challenge themselves. So
I know.
That's why they had the toys, the penguins.
I know.
But that is so strange. Within the world, it's like, what?
I always felt like that character just didn't really fit in VeggieTales. Because it's like, that's not right. He's human looking. He's got a buzzsaw.
Bob doesn't have a buzzsaw.
No, but why? Why this?
What they could have done are animatronic Bobs or something. And his top thing could have been the buzzsaw.
Yeah, okay. I guess what they were trying to do is like test out using the humanoid things.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I figure they're trying to do. Is just testing out different things.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why we have that character in this episode who never shows up in anything else, to my knowledge. I'm just saying, maybe it's time for a comeback.
I mean, with the VeggieTales show, they've been they brought back Goliath. Think about that.
Goliath, the character or the actor?
The giant pickle.
Okay.
Now he's a VeggieTales character.
Okay.
So, with all these veggies, Goliath is just among them now.
Why'd you tell me that? I haven't been watching it. Okay.
Because you said it's maybe time for a comeback, so I'm like, maybe it is.
Maybe, okay. But anyway, the story is that instead of Christmas being about,
Jesus, it's about
getting
toys.
more gifts, getting more toys. It's about giving the gift. And the best gift of all is the gift of God giving Jesus on Christmas Day, which I say, no, it's about Jesus sacrificing himself and then rising again and giving us the gift of salvation.
To which I say...
They're both like part of the same story, but still it's like, technicalities,
That's the weird thing about Christmas is that there's so much emphasis on the birth and not on the death, which kind of makes sense, but at the same time, so many people get so wrapped up with Christmas that they never truly celebrate Easter.
Because Easter... to people, it's just about chocolate bunnies and eggs instead of about Jesus, because that's what you see mostly. Christmas being about Jesus is born, which, for those who don't know, Jesus was not born on December 25th. This holiday was made by the pagans.
Jesus was born on December 24th.
No, he's probably born around June.
I mean, like, in the end, what is. You know what I mean?
We're still celebrating the birth of Jesus.
We don't care.
We don't care about Jesus.
No, we don't care when he was born.
The point is, Jesus is born.
Yeah. That's the interesting thing when you get into, like, nitty-gritty with theology, is that you can just, like, try to pick apart so many things that you start to lose the heart of it, which I know can be my issue.
And then, of course... Junior, he was like, so this is the meaning of Christmas? Boy, like, we gotta tell people. What this toy company is telling other people is all wrong. We gotta fix this. And, of course, I'm thinking, of course the toy company's saying this. They're a toy company. Like, what? And so, their plan is to break into this toy company and go to their TV studio and send a live message. And the way they're playing in this episode is that Junior says, I got an idea. We got to send this message. We got to go to this toy studio. And they go. And then once they open the room to the TV studio, they're like, a TV studio?
Well, because Junior didn't tell the rest.
But no. Because, like, immediately my thought is, it's a TV studio. Like, what else are you going to do? Like, we showed a commercial earlier on. My expectation, even as a kid, is like, okay, they're going to do another commercial. That's a TV studio. And so the build-up to the TV studio was like, okay, I didn't really feel like there was tension for this because I really knew they were going to record another commercial. So that reveal of it being a TV studio was like always strange to me because it's like, why is this a big deal? It's
for the kids who don't know better.
I knew better as a kid, Christopher. I knew better. TV studio. Anyway, these children break and enter into this toy company.
Which trespassing?
Trespassing. They break into this broadcast room and start broadcasting, technically hacking the network, which is illegal, by the way. You can be put in prison for this. Junior Asparagus says his name and his home on live television. What makes it worse is Knezer, finds this out. It's like, they're using my TV studio. And so they go into the room. It's like, oh, you're in big trouble now. Guess we're out of the air. Very menacingly. And then the feed just cuts. And all the parents are watching this. It's like, is something's going on? And I'm just thinking, it's like, that's probably not good for the authorities watching this. Because, like, he's pretty much making himself look like a criminal. Then it gets worse. Mr. Knezer attempts child murder.
And toy murder.
Vegetable murder.
Vegetable murder.
He puts them
murder,
like on a sleigh delivery. It's like, I'm going to send you down this broken bridge where you're going to die. And I'm like, okay, that seems a bit extreme for trespassing. I get it. Like, they want to build tension for this story. But it's still, I'm just thinking of this.
Extreme.
I'm thinking about this logically. It's like, That doesn't make any sense.
Well, when you got a villain, the villain does ridiculous things. I guess that's the idea behind it.
But it's like, okay, so they broadcast on your TV network. You announce that you're going off the air, and then your next step is to murder them through a sled accident. Mm-hmm. People are going to question this, especially parents who show up while he's about to send him down the sled. And he's like, oh, this is not what this looks like. And they give him a gift of a teddy bear, which is, again, they're trying to focus on the message of Christmas is about giving instead of receiving. But this guy's about to murder your children.
That transition as a kid had always confused me.
Yeah, it did. Like, even in today's
it's so
stance and how our legal system works, that's not good.
Yeah, it's also just like abrupt and awkward.
He's caught in the act, and they're like, oh, we'll forgive him. Here, have a teddy bear. But anyway, they go off down the sled anyway, and they die. They're saved. But then Nezzer dies. No, he doesn't. The toy saves
somehow.
Somehow, with penguins.
Yeah.
And then the story ends with Louis becoming a
carpenter.
And they brought up this question of him trying to get surgery to replace his saw, but that never came up in the episode of him not wanting his saw.
I mean, like, he did, now that he's around kids, he doesn't want to hurt. But
yeah, sure.
Who in their right mind for a toy company is like, oh yeah, we're gonna sell a toy with a buzzsaw,
a working buzzsaw? And also the toy uses a buzzsaw to make the sled go faster. Mm-hmm. In reality, that buzzsaw would torque, and they would stay there.
Gotta love it.
Gotta love it. Gotta love VeggieTales. And then, of course, we end with the studio not watching the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's pretty much this episode. It's a strange one, and I think of the episodes so far, this one has not aged the best. In terms of storytelling, at least, it's not aged the best.
In terms of nostalgia, it's a classic.
It's a classic for nostalgia, but the story is bonkers.
It really is like... Yeah, it really is a story to communicate a specific message. And so they tied together loose ends, pasted the holes with clay, basically.
It really feels like they were hired to do a Christmas special.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this is what we had to do.
And we have to talk about Jesus somehow.
Which
I get, but...
Which, is good, but they just go to an old person and he tells the story of Jesus very loosely. Mm-hmm. To a bunch of kids.
He opens to the book of Isaiah. Or Psalms, it's just how they animate opening the Bible. That's
how opening books in cartoons, they always open to the exact page, and it's always in the middle of the book.
Mm-hmm. Gotta love it.
Gotta love it.
Every single Bible verse is in the middle of the Bible.
Yes.
Now you don't have to flip to Obadiah in the middle of the service.
Obadiah?
You just open to the middle, and Obadiah is right there.
Obadiah.
Everything's in the middle.
What's in Obadiah?
Words.
You gotta read through that at some point. I don't remember Obadiah.
VeggieTales never did a story on Obadiah, and that's why we don't know anything about Obadiah.
Who does Obadiah?
Maybe the new VeggieTales will.
I feel like there's like a lot of stories in the Bible that they just don't tell anywhere because either they don't know how to tell it or it's too graphic,
or it's just a bunch of thus saith the Lord, and they don't know how to tell a story out of that.
It's like a story of murdering your wife, or maiden, or concubine.
So that will be the next VeggieTales episode. When
chopping them up into 12 bits and sending them off to the leader of the 12 tribes. That's a VeggieTales episode you want to see.
So stay tuned next time as Larry Boy tries to find out who's the murderer in the next VeggieTales episode. Right? Pretty much.
So, what is the main message of this episode, do you think?
Do not trespass.
Okay.
Honestly, again, it's the only reason why this is watchable is because it's nostalgia. And honestly, even as a kid, I was confused by some things. Mm-hmm. And in the end, this story existed to tell the story of the birth and tell kids, hey, Christmas is not about just gifts. It's more than that. And so that's what it exists for.
Yeah. So yeah, again, the main story of this, the main plot is, again, it's better to give than to receive.
And if you don't know what to give, just give a teddy bear.
Again, do you think this episode holds up well?
No.
No.
I don't think it...
Of the episodes that we've seen so far, this one to me doesn't hold up as well.
And I still even wonder, like, when it was released. Like I guess maybe because it's 96, there wasn't that much where you could, like, compare this against. Mm-hmm. But even thinking about it, if some of these weird plot holes, I understand also, like, culture has evolved, so you don't necessarily allow a kid to lead you to some place where you don't know and it turns up to be trespassing a toy factory with a TV studio.
And also you have a toy with a buzzsaw.
Yeah. Like, maybe that was acceptable 15 years ago, but not today.
15?
Was it 25? It was 25.
It was 25.
Gosh. So 24. Maybe that was acceptable 24, 25 years ago, but not today. So, but in terms of plot holes, I don't even think it stood the test of time from the beginning. It was kind of like what you mentioned. Like, maybe that's a little extreme, but this episode was made for two things. Number one, to test their animation skills, and number two, to somehow tell the story of Christmas.
Not really to tell the story of Christmas, but in order to have a Christmas special. Mm-hmm. I think. Because, Christmas specials...
You gotta have them.
You gotta have a Christmas special in whatever thing you're doing. Like, It's a given. The Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh, David, speaking about Disney, the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
That's not VeggieTales related, but okay.
What do you think about that?
That's interesting. We'll talk about this later. But yeah, any final thoughts you want to give about this episode?
It exists.
It exists. It's not the worst thing in the world.
It really isn't. But again, if you don't know what VeggieTales is, from the beginning, from your 15 minutes of filler to your weird story, yeah.
At least the music's good.
True. Mm-hmm. VeggieTales is usually pretty good about the music. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.